Chapter 10, October, 10th interval, October 1st. I used to cut guitars out of a piece of cardboard to copy that Strat look. I used a backwards tennis racket for a while and graduated to the cardboard cutout, Rick Springfield. What a creative way to use your resources and think outside the box, pun intended, in order to imagine yourself doing something. This is the first step in anyone's journey to becoming a musician or anything in life, the idea of pretending and using your imagination while in play mode. As long as you can think it, you can create it. This is one of the beautiful things about childhood, and if you're lucky, it can continue into adulthood as well. Of course, the idea of creative imaginative play continuing into adulthood can only happen if you're open to thinking about things as first principles, simplifying a seemingly complex idea, and keeping a sense of awe and wonder by asking, what if I did it this way? When you do this, you break down any preconceived notions, what the market says will work, and think of how whatever it is you're setting out to do or embody can be looked at in a completely new and different way. The moral of the story is to always keep the inner child alive. Cut out a piece of cardboard to look like a guitar. Use a backwards tennis racket and pretend to strum it to your heart's desire. The sky is no longer the limit. October 2nd. If you hand me a guitar, I'll play the blues. That's the place I automatically go. Eric Clapton. We all have a starting point and a comfort zone. For Eric, it's the blues. He feels at home playing this type of music where he can fully and freely express himself on the guitar. I know I have my comfort chords and scales I play when I first pick up a guitar to warm my fingers up, so I imagine it's the same for him. For me, it's playing G, C, and D with strummed out chords and picking out the individual notes of those chords with hammer-ons and pull-offs. From there, I go into playing a version of the pentatonic scale in various keys using all the strings moving it up and down the fretboard. After this, it's playing a made-up solo on one string, then moving that same idea onto other strings. Lately, I've been challenging myself with playing two-note chords or inverted chords in various scales to change it up. It's like combining the idea of soloing with chords at the same time. What is your comfort zone or place you feel most at home? It's okay to go there, but not to live there all day, every day, because you won't grow at all. The only way to grow and become a better version of yourself in all facets of life is to go outside of your comfort zone. You will surprise yourself in the best ways. October 3rd. Still to this day, I'm deeply satisfied when watching a guitar player who is connected with their art and instrument. Guitar TV helps you tap into that connection into each other. Steve Vai. Love it, Steve. He's talking about a childlike sense of awe and wonder as it pertains to playing guitar, and it ought to be this way because we are playing the guitar after all. It should be fun and joyful. In addition to this, coming from a guitarist of his stature, this quote means more than one might think. He could just as easily not notice anyone else doing their thing, if you will, because he could be so self-involved and engrossed in what he's doing. But this couldn't be further from the truth. He sees it, he gets it, he appreciates others doing what he does in a way that the average musician and guitarist, for that matter, might not. And I believe he's better off for it. It can help him to keep him more grounded, humble, and aware of his surroundings and colleagues. Maybe this inspires him to want to be better than he already is. Maybe this encourages him to reach out in an effort to collaborate with them. Maybe he decides to send out a friendly email or tweet encouraging them to keep on keeping on. These are all positive actions which are great to incorporate into our daily lives. October 4th. I like the guitar-driven music of Nirvana at its peak. At that point, I thought there was a lot of really exciting music coming out. Al Yankovic, an artist respecting another artist's art. Not only this, but an artist respecting a whole lot of music from a particular genre that they aren't traditionally in. What a wonderful thing. It doesn't surprise me, though, coming from Weird Al, because he takes music from all different genres and puts his own spin on them by changing the lyrics and keeping the same melody. It's his claim to fame. So if you're just a fan of music in general, there's no need to limit yourself to only one genre of music. Diversify, be eclectic. It will help inform how you make your way in the world, look at things from different angles, create something brand new with an invention, blend ideas to innovate, and just be open to possibilities and opportunities. This will most certainly aid you in conversations and relationships which work within the framework of a band to make each other the best you can be. As a result, this way of being will trickle out into everyday life with family, friends, colleagues, business partners, acquaintances, and even perfect strangers. October 5th. The best way to do that is to pick up a new instrument or an instrument that you don't typically write on and see where it takes you. Whether it's using an acoustic guitar or piano or electronics as tools, all of these lead to creating different types of songs, and I used all of these methods for this record. Serge Tankian. Great words of wisdom, Serge. By doing something you haven't done or putting yourself in a position you haven't been in before, you have to pay attention to all the nuances of that situation. In doing so, you're going out of your comfort zone, which is the only way to grow. You might discover something about yourself you didn't know you could do. You might uncover a new way of doing something which the entire world could benefit from. It's fully being in the moment, experimenting and figuring out as you go. Trial and error, perseverance, not giving up. These are all great attributes to practice, adapt, and incorporate into your life. As far as talking about how this can be wildly productive and creative in a musical pursuit goes, sometimes you have to change up the status quo in order to produce something great. It can mean picking up a new instrument or an instrument you don't typically write on and see what happens. It can mean recording a song or an album in a garage instead of a fancy studio. It can mean writing a song everywhere different than usual. an example, out on a walk instead of at your desk. So go ahead, give yourself permission to think of something in a different way. It will inspire you to keep on doing your thing, whatever it is, because you're keeping it fresh. Something is fresh, it's exciting, it's adventurous, it's fun. October 6th, my dream was to go to Nashville. I had my sights set on my dream. I used to have an 89 Toyota Ford truck. On the front of the truck, I had this license plate with cowboy boots and a guitar that I had airbrushed at Walmart. It said, "Chasing a dream." That was my kind of motto. Josh Turner. It's not just about having a dream. It's about doing your best and putting yourself in a position to succeed, to actually chase that dream in reality. We have to remember to enjoy and appreciate the journey along the way. And if we're lucky enough while the dream is being lived. Why? Because no one knows when it will be the last day on this earth. What is in our control is how we choose to live every day. Do we say carpe diem and live every day to the fullest, being in the moment as much as we can, or do we take it for granted and say, I'll just do it tomorrow? Sometimes we have to hang it up for that particular day because we're so physically exhausted from the activities of the day. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the continual delaying of things, experiences, and dreams for one reason or another. There will never be enough time. There will never be enough money. There will never be the right time. You have to bite the bullet, rip the Band-Aid off, and just do it. If we don't, then our entire lives will be in this perpetual state of never doing the things we want or desire for ourselves and our loved ones. We only have one life to live, so it behooves us to go after these dreams to make them a reality. If not, it's just a lot of thoughts and wishing, but no actions, which is akin to the Christian quote, "Faith without works is dead." Let us truly be alive all day, every day. October 7th, in a way, watching an attractive, potentially dangerous guy play guitar is a little like watching a tiger agree to do tricks for his trainer. You know that they could just turn and kill you, but you're so flattered and pleased that instead they agreed to stand in a decorative box and wave and count for the crowd that for a while you forget how big the scary part of them really is. Merrill Marco. Wow, very interesting and thought-provoking analogy here. To compare guitar playing to a tiger killing someone might be a little bit much, but I get the sentiment behind the quote. If you give someone or something enough time and space, they will show you their true selves for better or worse. My soccer coach in college used to say something to this effect: if you give a guy enough space in the field, he'll show you how good or bad he is. Basically, he means that if a player is creative enough, he'll make some magic happen with a brilliant pass or shot to put up a goal on the scoreboard. If a player is not creative, he'll waste the opportunity giving the ball away to the other team. In the example above, if a tiger is given enough time and space, it can both do tricks or potentially kill if triggered to do so. I've seen this with dogs in neighborhoods' backyards. They'll be under control when on a walk, but if provoked in the wrong way, will bark aggressively and try to come after you. Similar to a guitar player who has learned how to harness his creative energy, he can show off his skill and prowess in the right environment, but if pissed off, can unleash the beast inside, smashing his instrument, causing rift after rift in his personal and professional life, destroying all in his wake. Let this be a reminder to channel all kinds of energy into a positive force or result. The alternative is way too scary and destructive. October 8th, you've no right to walk into people's castles and take their guitars. Diana Wynne Jones. This is more of a metaphorical quote than anything, but you can also take it literally as well. Essentially, what Diana is saying is to not rain on anyone's parade or kill someone's spirits. If someone is having a great time doing well with their business at work, with a hobby or passion, and even at home with their family, there's no reason to put any of it down or make them feel less for succeeding. There could be a hint of jealousy or envy coming from the person or people doing so. Another way to word this quote is to not steal someone's joy. This could mean literally stealing someone's guitar as well as saying something that would destroy their good mood. Let's not be a Debbie Downer or a negative Nancy, but rather a positive Polly. We ought to be building each other up, encouraging and inspiring one another with positive affirmations, not tearing each other down. There's no reason to be negative, as this doesn't help anyone. You are the recipient of the negativity. This life is just too short to be anything but positive. October 9th, the weeping of the guitar begins. The goblets of dawn are smashed. The weeping of the guitars begins, unless to silence it. Useless to silence it, impossible to silence it. It weeps monotonously as water weeps, as the wind weeps over snowfields. Impossible to silence it. It weeps for distant things, hot southern sands yearning for white camellias. Weeps arrow without target, evening without morning, and the first dead bird on the branch. Oh, guitar, heart mortally wounded by 5 swords. Federico Garcia Lorca. So poetic. 'Tis true, though. 'Tis true. There is something about the guitar and how it continually longs to be touched, to be played. It begs, it pleads. The stories it yearns to tell through the simple pressing down of copper strings on a piece of wood, of heartbreak, of heartache, of triumph, of victory. Once it is played, the sound created has the ability to resonate seemingly forever, both literally and metaphorically. We're talking about opening Pandora's box in the best kind of way for not just the person playing it, but for anyone in earshot of it. So play on, guitar player. Play on as often and as loud as you desire. The world will be better off for it. October 10th, if you play I Don't Want to Know by Fleetwood Mac loud enough, you can hear Lindsey Buckingham's fingers sliding down the strings of his acoustic guitar. And we were convinced that this was the definitive illustration of what we both loved about music. We loved hearing the inside of a song. Chuck Klosterman. Yes, yes, yes. I feel the same exact way. When you can hear the little nuances, the imperfections, the humanness of a song, this is where it's at. It's a reminder that we as human beings still have so much to offer the world as far as art goes. We will not be replaced by AI, artificial intelligence, in this realm. All songs have to start somewhere. That somewhere is finding inspiration in the world, putting it inside of ourselves, thinking, calculating, then finding a creative way to express it. In this case, it's through music in the form of a guitar. In other cases, it could be watching a sunset and taking a paintbrush with pastels and making the most beautiful painting anyone's ever seen. From start to finish, the journey of a song, and any creative endeavor for that matter, is a wonderful thing to experience. It's where the human meets the supernatural. It's where heaven meets earth. It's everywhere and everything at the same time. October 11th, what's the difference between a classical guitar and a pizza? A pizza can feed a family of 4. Faye Kellerman. Very funny, Faye, very funny. Well, not so much, because I personally know a handful of musicians who happen to play guitar, have a family of 4, are able to make a living, and can feed their family by doing just that, playing guitar. It's amazing there are still people who exist that believe it's just not possible to pursue a career in the arts, and playing guitar for that matter in today's day and age. I mean, we have the internet at our disposal, and there's a lot you can do with that alone. You could teach lessons virtually, provide group sessions, virtual concerts, create an online course, start a YouTube channel, write and record songs, releasing them on several digital distributors. All of these areas within music, using a guitar can make a positive difference in people's lives as well as provide for a family. These ideas didn't even include in-person events or activities, in-person private lessons, group sessions, interactive performances, concerts, programs, assemblies, private events like weddings, engagement parties, anniversaries, baby showers, corporate events. Any of these occasions could call for live music or entertainment by the use of your guitar. I'm sure Faye didn't mean this as a slight to musicians, in particular guitarists, and my intention is not to prove her wrong. I'm simply pointing out all of the different options and ways a guitarist has at his or her fingertips to pursue their passion and make a living at the same time. There's so much to go around. October 12th. I said this to my daughter. If you don't practice the guitar when you get older, you wouldn't be able to play it. It's that simple. If you want to play the guitar, you put a half hour in every day, but you have to do it. Woody Allen. Practice doesn't necessarily make perfect, but it does make it a lot easier the next time you do something. Your muscle and brain memory gets reinforced, building new connections in order to do whatever it is you are doing quicker, more efficiently and effectively, with more accuracy and joy. If you don't practice, then you'll never get better at it. This goes for anything. Now, the exact time frame Woody suggests for practicing doesn't have to be a half hour per day, but it should be every day. I would even go further to say that in order to start to see improvement in a shorter period of time, one ought to practice at least an hour every day. This is how I got my chops up, so to speak, when first starting out. Actually, I would play more like 2 to 3 hours every day for a good 6 months, recuperating from a physical injury. Of course, I couldn't do what I normally did up until that point, play sports, so I had more time on and with my hands to practice. Woody is right in saying that as we get older, it's harder to pick up something new and learn it. Akin to the saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, I would argue that an old dog can learn new tricks. An example, an older person can learn something new. It might just take them longer than a younger person's learning the same thing. The moral of the story is to make it easy on yourself and learn whatever it is you have a passion for while you're young. So when you get older, you'll be able to come back to it with more ease and confidence. October 13th. The music defied classification. If I had been writing a review of the show, I would have labeled it progressive, guitar-driven rock and roll. But the guitars made sounds guitars didn't always make. Symphonic sounds, sacred sounds. The music dug in so deep you didn't hear it so much as feel it, reminding me of a dream I used to have when I was a kid, where I would be standing on a street corner, I would jump into the air, flap my arms, and soar up into the sky. That's the only way I could describe the music. It was the sonic equivalent of flight. Tiffany DiBartolo. Wow, what an image and description. Music can make us feel so many things, and on occasion the right words may escape us. It's difficult to say exactly what we are experiencing listening to a song, a band, an artist doing something we've never heard before. It moves us, it inspires us, it makes us feel like we are having a religious experience, it makes us feel like we're flying. It sounds like Tiffany experienced something to this effect and possibly more when listening to this particular artist. She could have been witnessing creative genius right in front of her. This is what happens when an instrument is played in unique ways, making something brand new to the eyes and ears. It's one of the most beautiful things about making music, especially on the guitar. You can play it in many different ways: finger picking, slap, tap, strumming, using different objects to play it, pick, bow, slide, beer bottle with various effects running through it, delay, echo, reverb, phaser, flanger, distortion, looper. You can run a part backwards, create swells, harmonics, squeals, and feedback. If you know how to manipulate sound as it interacts with all these devices and effects, the possibilities are endless. And thinking of it like this, the guitarist or musician is inspiring us to think of eternity using our imaginations in a way we never have or haven't since we were a child. Now that is nothing short of amazing. October 14th, swinging at daisies is like playing electric guitar with a tennis racket. If it were that easy, we could all be Jerry Garcia. The ball changes everything. Michael Bamberger. Interesting analogy, Michael. I like it. It's so true. If anything were that easy, then we would all be virtuosos at everything in every field that exists. It's just not possible for a human being to know and be able to do everything perfectly. That is reserved for God and only God. We are imperfect. We fall. We say and do the wrong thing sometimes. This is okay if our intention is not to purposely say and do the wrong thing. If we really give it the old college try and do our best, that is really all we can ask for with ourselves and with everyone else. We can't depend on others to be perfect either, because that's just an unrealistic expectation. We would be setting ourselves and them up for failure and disappointment. Now, as this quote pertains to guitar, the person playing it makes all the difference. All the practice, experiences, and situations they've been in up until that moment they are playing guitar will impact that performance. It's the culmination of their being right then and there. If they've had a bad day, that could impact the performance in a negative way. A good day could impact the performance in a positive way, and so on and so forth. Let us respect the fact that everyone has their own special skills, of talents, and gifts they bring to the table. And it might be wildly different than yours. This is what makes the world go round, move in a positive direction, and have forward progress. October 15th, I've got my girl and my guitar, and for me, that's enough. Tiffany DiBartolo. Keeping it simple, this is what Tiffany is essentially getting at. There's no reason to complicate things. It only makes people more stressed out, anxious, and depressed. To have the self-awareness that you don't need a lot in life is key to long-term happiness, satisfaction, peace, joy, and love. Besides, what else more could you need than someone you care about and a musical instrument to express yourself creatively than a guitar? Of course, I'm a little bit biased, being a guitarist first and foremost. If you knew you only have one more year to live, what two things would you keep? October 16th, from now on, all my guitar solos will be in Morse code. Jason Hicks. Very interesting, Jason. After much thought, the meaning behind this code still confuses me. It could mean one of two things. One, he doesn't want the average person, a musician, to be able to figure out what he's playing, since most people don't know Morse code. So essentially, he wants his solos to be more mysterious and unknown to the untrained ear and brain, almost like a puzzle or code that is difficult to decipher on purpose. If it is this way, he could very well be isolating himself to a point where people would not want to be associated with him and his creative work. Two, he wants his solos to be monotone with not much character. I don't believe this is the case, because why would a guitarist want to have a shining moment in a song be monotone? As you know, Morse code doesn't have any sort of different tone to it. It's the same tone over and over again. I'm assuming it is number one, but even both of these ideas could be missing the mark, thought-provoking and elusive at the same time. October 17th, I do more writing by myself than with anybody else. My best thing is sitting around somewhere with a guitar and having an idea. You never know where it'd come from. Songwriting is a God-given talent. Charlie Daniels. Writing by yourself takes a lot of patience, perseverance, understanding, compassion, and empathy. Yes, usually we consider these characteristics to be with other people, but we most certainly need them with ourselves when writing alone. This is the case for doing anything on our own. It's very easy to give up on something because it's too hard when you're doing it by yourself. I mean, who's going to notice other than you, right? It's much harder to do so when you're around other people, because those other people are more liable to hold you accountable for what you said you were going to do. In the end, it's all about character and integrity, to still do what's right and your best, even when no one else is watching. As it pertains to songwriting with a guitar, I know that what this feeling is like. I've written some of my best material when no one else is around, sitting by a lake, on the back patio or porch, on the top of a mountain, a small mountain, but still a mountain. When I'm able to really tap into an idea in a deep way is when the best insights, wisdom, phrases, play on words come to me. And I agree, songwriting is a gift that is given to you from God. To be able to put words together in such a way that have a catchy melody, rhyme, scheme, and rhythm is something supernatural and divine. Let us not take it for granted, but give it up to Him when a song comes to us. If we are truly being honest with ourselves, the song wasn't born inside of you and only by you. You are the channel for the music to work its way through you. October 18th, what an unfortunate instrument the guitar is. An instrument of such great nobility, a genuine monarch of music, reduced to a pitiful lump of wood with 6 strings, constantly abused by people with no ear and no voice. Sergei Lukyanenko. I wouldn't exactly put it this way, but it is something to think about, isn't it? For starters, I wouldn't say that the guitar is an unfortunate instrument. It is a wonderful instrument that we use to create beautiful music with for ourselves and others to appreciate and benefit from. Sergei just describes what a guitar is: 6 strings and a piece of wood. There's nothing wrong with that. We aren't reducing it to something it isn't or something less than it already actually is. What he is spot on about is that the instrument is abused and misused by a lot of people. Just by playing it and forcing around, we are in a sense hurting the instrument. I believe he is speaking the idea that there are people who have no business playing this instrument because they don't actually care about how it sounds. All they want to do is play it loud, smash it, create lots of feedback and screeching sounds as a form of making a statement and making their presence known. Let us treat the instrument with respect, and the instrument will do the same. It will last a long time for us, given the ability to create music again and again. This goes for anything in life. Treat things and people with respect, and they will do the same for you. October 19th, but we go out as a band because we enjoy each other's company, first of all, and it's the payoff for me. To go out and play my art and still play guitar, which is my life. Peter Frampton. First and foremost, you have to enjoy what you are doing. Otherwise, why do it at all? There has to be some sense of joy that comes with the doing. If not, it's just banging your head against the wall, doing grunt work instead of playing and having fun. To enjoy one another's company makes all the difference. This is literally what makes or breaks someone's experience, whether it be in the workplace, at home, at church, at the grocery store. If you enjoy the people around you, you want to continually come back to it. If not, you want to get away from it as quickly as possible or just avoid it altogether. In my opinion, Peter has the life. He gets to do what he loves with playing guitar alongside great people. He cracked the code and unlocked the secret to long-term happiness and fulfillment surrounding yourself around like-minded people who inspire you to be a better version of yourself every day. We can only hope to do the same for others as they are doing for us. October 20th. To play the guitar well is easy. To play the guitar poorly is difficult. Pepe Romero. Face value, this quote might not make much sense, but the deeper you think about it, the more it does. Let's break it down. Number one, playing the guitar well is easy. It's easy in the fact that all you have to do is put your fingers on specific places on a copper or nylon string on a piece of wood to make music. If you want, you can sit down to play. So it's not like you're putting yourself through the physical ringer in any way, shape, or form. There isn't anything too strenuous or difficult about that on its own. Now, building the figure and muscle strength to be able to play chords is a whole different story. If you practice it enough, just like anything in life, it will become easier and more efficient over time. With guitar, you'll gain the muscle and brain memory of where to place your fingers with the right force and be able to transition from one spot of the instrument to another. Number two, to play the guitar poorly is difficult. Oblivion means that if you incorporate all the elements number one above, it's really hard to mess it up. Following the necessary steps and practicing every day will make it extremely hard to make mistakes. Will you still make them? Of course. You're human. We all make mistakes. But it will become harder and harder to do so. Let's make it as easy as we can on ourselves. Life is hard enough with everything else going on. October 21st. So I went ahead and made me a guitar. I got me a cigar box. I cut me a round hole in the middle of it, take me a little piece of plank, nailed it onto that cigar box, and I got me some screen wire, and I made me a bridge back there and raised it up high enough that it would sound inside that little box and got me a tune out of it. I kept my tune and I played from then on. Lightning Hopkins. Awesome. Simply awesome. I love the ingenuity and creativity displayed here. This is exactly the kind of resourcefulness that will continue to move the world forward in a positive direction, and it reinforces the idea of anything can be used as an instrument. The older I get and the more I play music, the more I'm a believer of anything being an instrument. When first starting out, my thoughts were not there yet. It was a guitar is a guitar. You can't make a guitar out of anything other than wood. I was dead wrong. The coolest part about making your own instruments is that the sound that comes out of it will not only sound like traditional instruments at all. You may be creating sounds and noises that the world has never heard before. That's special. So Lightning, keep on coming up with fun and creative ways to make instruments and play your music. The world desperately needs it, and I'm sure you do too. October 22nd. Music has always been my first love. I use music in my work because it's the fastest way to an emotional place. You hear a song and that memory comes right back. You're there. Making music is immediate and it's all about you. If you're playing guitar, the feeling comes through. The way you bend the note, the intensity with which you hit the strings. With making films, although it's real emotion, it's false emotion. You're lying. Johnny Depp. For a man of Johnny's acting stature to say that music with a focus on guitar has this kind of effect on him is really saying something. It could be very easy for him to say that acting is the end-all be-all for him, but it isn't. He's thinking about it deeply and being completely honest with himself. You have to respect him for that. And he's right about music being the quickest way to an emotional space and place. You do get that immediate sense of self-satisfaction, gratification, achievement, and beauty when playing any instrument, but especially guitar too. There's a visceral physicality to it that lets you know what you are doing is real, raw, and authentic. You have to hold the guitar with both hands and arms. You hold it against your chest and use your fingers and hands to press down the strings with strength in order to create the melodic notes you were looking for. When you play the guitar, the way you do it makes all the difference. This is the same thing in life. Intention is the right step. First step, and then putting that intention into the right action is the next step. Thank you, Mr. Depp, for bringing this into the forefront for us. October 23rd, I suppose ultimately I'm interested in music. I'm a musician. I'm not a gunslinger. That's the difference between what I do and what a lot of guitar heroes do. The edge. Love it, sir. To be interested in the idea of music as a whole is where it's at, because then you are free to create at will whatever it is you're looking to hear. It doesn't have to be on a traditional instrument or the sounds we normally hear with normal instruments. I believe this is where the edge gets his edge, if you will. The way he uses delay, echo, and reverb on his electric guitar has literally created the sound of U2. Anyone else who tries to do this kind of thing would be copying what he did. He is a true pioneer when it comes to utilizing effects in an electric guitar to create the desired sound he's hearing in his head. There's an atmosphere, an environment, and an adventure he invites the listener to join in on. When he says that he's not a gunslinger, he's referring to the fact that he's not a guitarist who plays loud, in-your-face rock and roll just for the sake of being loud. And not being a gunslinger, he's taking a unique approach to his craft of guitar playing and made it into an art. He's chosen to be more nuanced and delicate with his playing, and there is much beauty, respect, and patience that comes with the territory. In the end, being a musician far outweighs being just a guitarist, because you look and hear music in outside-of-the-box different kind of ways. This is ultimately where we ought to be living with every day in life. There's multiple ways to get to the same place, just like there's multiple ways to solve problems. October 24th, can't stand it. Too many amps, too much volume. This is flat out ear assault. Speedy guitars leave me not feeling detached but physically upset. When you think of all the subtleties that were built into the guitar and amps where you discover they completely cover the whole lot with a rack of effects. The guitar doesn't need that, Jeff Beck. Jeff is talking about taking a more nuanced and delicate approach to playing the guitar than just cranking it up to 11 and playing as loud as you can. Is it fun to just blast it and rock out? Sure, but after a while it starts to sound like noise rather than music. Playing fast might get out the excess energy you have inside, just begging to come out so it fills that need. However, playing fast can also create anxiety and stress in the person playing, as well as anyone listening. Do we really want that in our lives? For me, the answer is no. I'm trying to limit and, in the best case scenario, eradicate both. Mr. Beck is right on the money with all the subtleties built right into the guitar itself. There's knobs for treble, bass, and volume on most electric guitars. Sometimes there's a spot for a whammy bar. The humbuckers and pickups can create unique sounds depending on their width and weight. Just these alone could provide a plethora of opportunities to experiment and create beauty on the instrument. And this doesn't even include the many different kinds of effects pedals, amplifiers, and strings, 6, 7, and 12 strings for and on guitars, putting them in alternate tunings, using slides, cables, and more. You don't need to blow out people's eardrums in order to make your presence known. You could do so by being creative, unique, and different to the person or band next to you. October 25th. Nothing beats 2 guitars, drum, and bass. Lou Reed. As far as music is concerned, I like where your head is at, Lou. Keeping it simple as it pertains to a band and the songs they create benefits both the band and the listener. For one, there's less to have to remember, less chances for making a mistake, and the sound will most likely be cleaner and overall more pleasing to the ears. When you start adding in keyboards, a horn section, and orchestra, it can start to sound like a wall of noise rather than a harmonious sound. Most songs need room to breathe in rather than filling up every millisecond with something. It's easy to start stacking instruments on top of one another, and if you're not careful, it can get out of hand really quickly. I've been there before in bands and even with my own solo projects music. At some point, there are diminishing returns. It starts to sound worse off than if it were to leave it alone where it is. I imagine that if you were to break the 2 guitars down into the roles they play in a band, one guitar would be used to play rhythm with other more lead and solo parts. In doing this, roles are clearly defined so as to best avoid confusion. This works not only in music, but in life as well. October 26th. Rock and roll is simply an attitude. You don't have to play the greatest guitar. Johnny Thunders. Intentionality, intentionality, intentionality. It's the name of the game with everything in life. Taking this step one step further, when we are able to align our intentions with our actions is where everything comes together as it should. Conversations become easier. Relationships will most certainly improve. Communication with employees and colleagues would become clear and concise. It's a win-win for everyone involved. The same idea applies to the concept of rock and roll. It's not just a music genre. It's a way of being. It's incorporating all the elements that come with the territory, like playing some distorted guitar, singing in a powerful voice, going against the establishment, or sticking it to the man, if you will, through the use of poignant and purposeful lyrics directed towards it. You don't have to be the best guitar player in the world in order to embody the rock and roll attitude. You don't even have to wear anything in particular or talk a certain way either. In fact, it's probably better to not be the best guitar player or look a certain way. Just be yourself and your essence will shine right through. October 27th. Jackson plays a broken guitar because he's in love with it and doesn't want to fix it, I think. It's so broken. Nikki Reed. There's something deeply poetic about this quote. If you are in love with something or someone, warts and all, then you really do love that thing or person. It's accepting someone or something for what it is or who they are, and not trying to change them. We can't actually change anything or anyone. People have to want to change in order for them to do so. Things depend on us moving them or putting the proper systems or mechanisms in place for them to change. No thing and no one is perfect. We are all broken. Things are built with the idea that at some point they will break. This is okay. In fact, this should be reassuring to find this out if you don't already know it. It puts us all on the same level playing field. As this quote pertains to guitar, playing a broken one gives a character. It shows that it was played by someone many times with much strength. It's provided great music for the player and the listener time and time again, and will continue to do so if you hold on to it. It becomes a part of you. A perfect example of this is Willie Nelson playing his beat-up guitar from when he was young. It has holes in it. I'm sure there are parts on it that aren't 100% functional, yet he still uses it. He could just as easily buy a newer, shinier, fancier-looking guitar, but he chooses to play the beat-up one because it suits him. That's telling you something. He may very well see himself in the guitar and vice versa. October 28th. People have learned how to strum a guitar, but they don't have the soul. They don't feel it from the heart. It hurts me. I'm killing myself to tell them how it is. Lightning Hopkins. It's one thing to be able to do something. It's an entirely different thing to truly care about that thing, putting your whole heart, soul, time, and energy into it. This is what Lightning is talking about with strumming a guitar but having no soul while doing it. What's the point then? If we go through life just doing things but not with the right intention, attitude, or energy attached to them, then we're going through the motions. That's very robotic and mechanical. And during our lifetime, AI will be able to do the same thing, and even better than humans in some cases. Another way to look at this, just getting the job done for getting it done's sake rather than diving completely into whatever it is we are doing, dedicating our entire being to the task at hand. And playing guitar shouldn't be a task. It should be fun. After all, it is one of the best self-expressive creative activities we have at our disposal, playing music. Children get it. They don't even have to try, and they get it. We need to keep that childlike sense of awe and wonder, using our imaginations to continue playing and creating for the rest of our lives. It has to come from within. Yes, you can watch a video or witness a person in real time doing something inspiring that can light a fire inside you, but for the most part, the passion has to come from within. It's not something you can really teach. Either you have it or you don't. We owe it to ourselves to really go for it because we only have one life. Let's not squander the opportunity. October 29th. Learning the notes in the fretboard is key to any guitarist development on the instrument, and Guitar Trainer HD is a neat way to get that info burned into your brain without having to carry a guitar with you everywhere you go. Pretty cool. Brian Beller. This is true, Brian. In order to move your way around the fretboard on a guitar with fluidity and ease, one has to learn where the notes are. I would say at least the main notes on the top and second string from the top, E and A strings respectively. This way you can play it with bass notes in the first octave of those notes. It will help make sense of root notes and that there are more than one of the same musical note on the instrument. Example, more than one C major note exists in the guitar. To be able to practice finding these notes, digging deeper into scales and riffs at any time and place is huge. It can be on an airplane and still practice by studying the various places on a guitar you would be putting your fingers to create various notes, scales, and chords. It's amazing the kind of technology that exists these days. It allows us the ability to tap into a creative space at will, whenever and wherever. So there's no excuses anymore for not keeping your chops out. Practice, practice, and practice, or as I like to say, play, play, and play. October 30th. I had this idea. I wanted the sound to sing and have that thickness, but yet still have an edge so that it could be articulate. So my dad and I designed the guitar, the one that was made from an old fireplace, Brian May. Beautiful. To make a guitar from scratch takes time, patience, perseverance, hard work, and discipline. That alone is amazing, so kudos to you for doing so, sir. The fact that you made it from an old fireplace is really cool. Here it's all about using your resources in an outside-of-the-box creative way to take something rustic and old-fashioned into something new again. I love the imagery of making the sound from a guitar sing as well. This is all about projection and resonation. How far and loud can the music jump off the guitar, and how long can it do it for? Everything about this quote hits home for me, and I hope it does for you too. October 31st. I don't find the songs, they find me. I just strum my guitar and wait for a lyric to come. James Taylor. Ooh, what an awesome way to flip the script on songwriting. I'm sure there are musicians and songwriters who believe that they create the songs on their own with no outside help or force of play. I am not of that camp. I'm of the same mindset and playset as James. You have to put yourself into a position to capture whatever the universe is trying to tell you as much as possible. The best way to do this is to show up time and time again with your guitar in hand or whatever instrument you prefer writing on, and a mind that's open. It's not just about being physically present, but also mentally present. If you have one or the other and not both at the same time, it will not work. Sometimes a lyric will come out of nowhere and that jump starts the chorus. Other times an entire song unfolds itself in 10 minutes. And yet there are times when a song takes 6 months to write. After years of writing myself, I found that you have to trust the process, not being judgmental as to why that particular lyric came to you, and not put it down or throw it away. In order to create something awesome for me, it has to come from a free-flowing, positive, beautiful place.